Okay, so why do so many of us completely fail at budgeting? I mean, we've all been there, right? You download the fancy new app, you set up this beautiful color-coded spreadsheet, and you promise yourself, all right, this month is absolutely going to be different. But then, it just isn't. So why does standard budgeting almost always fall flat? Well, it's basically because we treat money like it's just math. But in reality, our relationship with money is deeply, deeply psychological.
Dr. Julie Osborne, who's a cognitive behavioral therapy specialist, really hit the nail on the head with this. She says, many of us overcompensate by buying things we can't afford to feel better about ourselves. And wow, isn't that the truth? When we overspend, it's actually really common for it to be an emotional response that's driven by our core beliefs. Maybe you're trying to give your kids the stuff you never had growing up. Or, maybe a little retail therapy is just your quick fix for a super stressful day. The bottom line is, money is emotional.
So, welcome to The Explainer. I am so incredibly excited you're joining us today. Our core mission here is to totally transform your relationship with money. And I mean technical, emotional, and systemic. We're going to break down the actual psychology of wealth so you can finally unlock some true financial wellness.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap. First, we'll cover why money is not just math. Second, overcoming your financial anxiety. Third, cultivating financial intimacy. And finally, building holistic financial wellness. Starting with Section 1, money is not just math. This is all about the inner game of financial health. To really get a grip on our finances, we have to recognize that our money habits are completely tangled up with our psychological well-being. Take the concept of financial trauma. This is the emotional and psychological distress from financial experiences that literally overwhelm our capacity to cope, leaving these huge lasting impressions on our security and self-worth. For a lot of people, hearing that is a massive aha moment. Research actually shows that our nervous system treats severe financial stress like a literal physical threat to our survival, like a lion is chasing you. So if you have unresolved financial trauma, your brain's amygdala becomes hypervigilant. Just opening your banking app can literally trigger a fight, flight, or freeze response. It is not just a lack of discipline, folks, it's neurobiology.
Which brings us to Section 2, overcoming your financial anxiety and rewriting those money scripts. So how in the world do we fix this? We need some actionable individual solutions for all that anxiety and trauma we just talked about. And this is exactly where therapeutic frameworks like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, become just incredibly powerful financial tools. Now, these aren't just fancy buzzwords, they give us concrete skills. For instance, there's something called cognitive restructuring. This basically helps you catch and challenge unhelpful thoughts, like, say, catastrophizing that you're going to be broke forever, and then swaps them out for realistic perspectives. Then there's distress tolerance. That one actually lets you sit with the extreme discomfort of, facing your debt without impulsively running away from it or going on a shopping binge just to feel better. Ultimately, putting these skills into practice helps you achieve something huge. Living within your means, but doing it based on your own personal values. Dr. Osborne shares this really great personal story about this. When she and her husband first had kids, they made the conscious choice for him to be a stay-at-home dad. But to make that math work, they actually had to share a single car, and at the time, just one cell phone between them. And the thing is, they weren't punishing themselves at all. It was this empowering, value-based choice. They aligned every dollar they spent with their core goal of having a parent at home. Living within your means really doesn't feel restrictive when you tie it directly to what you genuinely care about.
Let's move to our next stop and see how this builds in Section 3, cultivating financial intimacy, or what we call the shared game.
So we've looked at the individual side of things, but what on earth happens when two people's inner money scripts totally collide? I really want this staggering statistic from the Gottman Institute to sink in for a second. 70%. Yep, 70% of married couples argue about money more than literally any other topic. It's huge. But the couples who actually master financial intimacy, they don't just sweep these discussions under the rug. They learn exactly how to navigate them. If we look at how couples actually set up their bank accounts, the breakdown is super interesting. About 38% use fully shared accounts, 34% go with a hybrid approach, and 27% keep everything totally separate. So if you do the math there, a massive 62% of couples keep at least some of their money separate. But here's the real secret. What actually predicts your relationship success isn't the specific account structure you end up choosing, not at all. It's the communication, the trust, and the transparency happening behind that structure. And when that communication breaks down, we run into what Gottman famously calls the four horsemen of financial conflict. And trust me, these are absolute relationship killers. We're talking about criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. You definitely want to be on high alert for all four of these, but contempt, that is the most destructive pattern by a mile. If you find yourself eye-rolling or mocking your partner when you're supposed to be figuring out the grocery budget, that disdain is just incredibly toxic to any sense of financial intimacy.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we can actually fix that communication. It's all about the difference between a harsh startup and a soft startup. A harsh startup goes right for the character attack. You are so irresponsible with money. Ouch, right? But a soft startup that simply states a feeling and a positive need, like, hey, I'm feeling really stressed about our budget this month. Can we sit down together and make a plan? This gives you such an immediate, actionable tool to just stop fights before they even start. If you can keep a 5-to-1 ratio, meaning 5 positive interactions for every single negative one during a money talk, your relationship is going to absolutely thrive.
You know, another massive source of conflict is the invisible mental load. Usually, one partner is stuck paying all the bills, researching the insurance policies, and just stressing over the taxes. To prevent totally burning out, you can use this equitable distribution process. It's really straightforward. Step 1. List literally every single financial task. Step 2. Figure out who currently does what. Step 3. Honestly assess the cognitive burden, the actual stress level of each task. And Step 4. Redistribute the whole list equitably. Making all that invisible labor visible, it's a real game changer.
Moving into our final part, Section 4, building holistic financial wellness, which is all about the systemic game.
Finally, let's just zoom way out to the macro level. How do our workplaces and larger systems try and, frankly, so often fail to actually support our financial health? Well, a lot of employers offer these corporate financial wellness programs, but the adoption rates are usually terrible. Why is that? Because they're totally misaligned with people's immediate needs, nobody engages with them, and they operate in this weird bubble, completely isolated from other mental health benefits. I mean, think about it. If a program is only focused on maximizing a retirement account, it completely ignores the employee who is literally having panic attacks over high-interest credit card debt. Financial stress always spills over into mental health, so the solutions absolutely have to be integrated.
So the crucial point here is synthesized beautifully in this whole client model from the Journal of Financial Therapy. It basically shows that to get this right, we have to combine 3 distinct disciplines. First, financial social work provides the context and helps address the underlying trauma. Then, personal financial planning comes in to handle the technical strategies and the actual cash flow. And finally, behavioral economics gives us those structural nudges and defaults to keep us on track. When systems actually combine these 3 pieces, they create a truly holistic support net. And that is absolutely critical, especially when we're trying to support marginalized groups who are facing serious structural barriers.
Wow, we have covered a lot of ground today, right? From your brain's amygdala to your partner's communication style, all the way up to the systems at your workplace. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this one provocative question to really chew on. What is the money story you inherited from your childhood? And honestly, is it still serving you today? Take a little time to reflect on those core beliefs, because the amazing thing is you have the power to rewrite that script and completely reshape your financial future. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to start your brand new money story today.